Hey guys, it's just a video talking about some of the things you'll need to have when you're starting off building Gundam model kits. And it's going to be a two-part video. The first part of this video is going to be about things that you'll need if you're just building them. The second part is going to be things that you'll need if you're painting them. And the main thing that you're going to need is a good pair of clippers. I bought these clippers for about $6 at an arts and crafts store. Some of the things you'll want to know about good clippers is that you'll need a good spring here so that once you clip it, opens up automatically. The faster it opens up, the better, unless it's like flying out of your hand. This is not as responsive as it was when I first bought it, but it's great for a $6 pair of clippers. Another thing that's very important is that they clip and line up exactly, and that the blade is sharp. See how they're like two little knives there instead of just being like pliers? And one mistake that I did make in buying clippers was that I first started off buying this one here. See, it's not like a knife there, it's just like a pair of pliers. It's not really an exact cut, and the handles on this are so small that after hours of cutting model kit pieces out of the sprues, it's going to really start to cramp on your hand. So you definitely want a big, nice rubber grip so that it's comfortable. The next thing you're going to need is some sandpaper. I bought these sandpapers here from the hobby store around here. I bought these little slips right here. See, this one is a very light slip. This one is even lighter. This one is a heavier slip, so that you can, if you're sanding the entire pieces, I'd start off with the rougher edge and then move down to the smaller edge in time. And these can just wash off with water. You know, they're really good for that. I got them for about $6. You got a bunch of them here. It's like duplicates. They don't last forever. I've got some parts with the sand pieces that are just coming off. This is like one that I've been using for a while. And that's really good. What you want to do is you would clip off. Like I'll show you right here, for example. You would clip off closer to the sprue so that you'll leave area to trim off yourself. This is actually the piece that I'm working on right now for my tall geese, so I'll need this anyways in a few minutes because I'm still working on it. See how it's like there's still an area right there that's sticking out? That way that you can use your X-Acto knife here or box cutter. Box cutters are good, like if you have a very, see? That's so much better. But if you have a box cutter, those are good too. This is a lot more accurate if you need to get in the smaller places like this, but a box cutter is good because it's got a big flat blade, and it can sit right along the edge of the model kit, and you can just, it's easier for you to carve it off than this, because this can turn because it's so tiny, and you can actually accidentally carve a bit away from the model kit if you're, if you got a shaky hand or if you're a bit unexperienced at it. Another thing that is, that's really all that there is for not painting. But if you're painting it, a couple things that you're going to need are these little containers here or little plastic bags. What I use these containers for is when I'm test fitting everything together, I'm going to have different colors of things I'm going to paint. So I've got about 6 of these little containers. I just stick a particular color in here, and then I stick a bottle of paint near it so that I know that all the pieces in this need to be painted that color. I'm going to remember anyways, but it's good to have a separation of pieces and a place to store all your pieces while they're dry, but just need a little bit more time until you finish working on them. So that's good. It comes with tops. I got these for about $2. Actually about $1 a piece, I think, because I bought a bunch of them. Oh, another thing. This cost about $4, and these, I don't remember if I said, but these cost about $4, $4 to $6 as well for the set. Also, if you're painting, and get into the most important part, is the primer. You can use an airbrush and paint on primer, but I find that it's so much easier just to do this. I think these are about, I don't know, they're like $4 or close to $6, I don't remember, but for a bottle of Model Master White Primer. The white primer comes in different colors. It comes in black, it comes in gray, and it comes in white. I like to use white primer because it's a good base. That's really what primer is. Say, for example, you're painting a Gundam, and it's got multiple different colors. Say you're painting pieces that are red, that are blue, that are black. You're painting them all one color. You want to prime them so they have the same base coat, and plus, prime helps it to stick to the paint because the paint just won't automatically stick to the plastic pieces. This gives it some texture to stick to. So I use Model Masters. It's a whole lot easier than putting primer into your airbrush. It's a lot of work to do that, and it'll really gunk up your airbrush quick if you're not careful. Another thing is I use Tamiya Color Model Kit Paint for the airbrush. This is good for dry brushing or airbrushing, either one. And as far as Tamiya spray paints go, I use Tamiya Color spray paints, but there are also other spray paints that I use. It just depends, because some aren't made for plastics and some are. I use a Model Master color spray paint. It's not often that I use it. Sometimes I'll get one that doesn't really work right for the plastic. Can't really explain why. I'm not a pro. I haven't been doing this all my life or anything, but I know this for a fact works well. Sometimes I don't even prime the pieces. Like, say, for example, like this kit right here. Oh, this kit had no primer on it at all, and it works fine. I was just like using up spare paint, like I had an ounce left in a bottle, so I just use it on that. But next you're going to need is some watercolor paints, all different sorts of color. I think the most important color to get in watercolor paint is black and gray, because this is great for panel lining, this is great for touching up spots. Like, for example, if you want to mask off an area and paint one area black and one area another color, you can use the black and just use your brush and just touch it up and just make sure that it's working right. And it's also really good to use this. You can mix this with water, and you can take the brush and stick it into the black and then mix it with water, and then touch it along the panel lines, and the water will just soak up. It'll just eat the paint and just put it right into the panel lines. It pretty much does work for you. Then you can take a napkin and just wipe off the excess. It's really good for that. Another thing you'll need, of course, is some dry brushes if you're going to be putting panel lines and other things on there. I got a set of brushes for about $7. It came with about 4 or 5 brushes with a flat edges like this, but it also is good to have one with a very thin edge like this. Got to really take good care of your brushes. One thing that I use to pull the pieces apart, I'll snap them barely together, and this knife here works really well for that. It's very simple thing, or even if I put it together completely, a knife will work like a pocket knife if you stick it on the inside of the piece and you pry it apart from the inside. Never pry it apart from the outside for one reason, for a couple of reasons actually. The pegs are on the inside, and if you pull them apart from the outside, that'll stress and bend the pegs. It's a higher chance of doing that. And if you put them from the inside, there's no chance of you cracking or anything that people will see from the outside. So if you just happen to do it and you make a mistake or something, it's on the inside, so it's fine. So that's the best way to do it there. Just gently do it from all different sides of it, like left side a little bit, right side a little bit, top a little bit, and it'll eventually come apart. And also, if you're painting, it's good to have some masking tape. And depending on how you do this, you can do it a couple different ways. You can snap the pieces like halfway together and then paint it as one piece, or if you're painting it piece by piece, like really long way, it takes forever that way, you're going to want to cover up the pegs with some tape. And it's good to do this because the more paint you add to it, like if you prime it, add a base coat, a top coat, a protective coat, the pegs will get a lot bigger and they won't fit as well. And that's why I like to fit 2 pieces together and paint it as a whole. That way they get the exact same shade all the way around. So it's good to do that and mask it off. And it's good to have a X-Acto knife to do that with. Say I can cut squares in here and put the squares on there. It works that way. Another thing is you're going to need some tweezers to pull off the masking tape if you're masking off areas, because you don't want to use your fingers. Your fingernail might scratch it. This is a precision tool. It's good to do that if that's what you're looking to do. Another thing is that I use a lot of these skewers here. I picked up a set of like 100 bamboo skewers from Target. It was like $1, and I use these. I'll put some tape on it, and I'll stick the piece to it, and I just tape it like that. And other pieces, I just want a quick thing to do. I have this it's this like tool right here. I really need to clean it off. It's got a ton of paint on it, but that's really all I use it for. I've got a whole set of tools. I don't need knives or screwdrivers or anything on here. I just use it for the pliers. And it's great because I'll hold the piece in here. I'll paint it. I'll paint the piece while it's holding it in these pliers, and then I'll just sit the pliers out like this, and it'll just keep holding the piece, and it'll just dry that way. But these work really well right here. You can put each piece on it, tape it to that, and then you could stick it in a piece of styrofoam or put holes in a box. The best thing to do is if you take the styrofoam and put it in there through that, the sharp side first. That works the best. As far as anything else, if you're airbrushing, which not everybody starts off with an airbrush, but it's good to have some rubbing alcohol. The best thing is 100% isopropyl alcohol. I can only find 91. It works all right, I guess. The problem with 91% versus 100% I believe evaporates completely, as where this doesn't completely evaporate. And the thing is with paint, you want to get the thinnest layer possible. That way it looks the best, it's thinner. You don't want your model kit to be any bigger when you're done painting it. That's the problem with some paints like watercolor paint. It's kind of thick. You want this paint right here is, I would say, the best. It's very thin layers of it. But all that you'll learn with time. It's good to experiment with kits, and I say that if you're painting kits, it's good to buy a starter kit. Just go buy like a $10 kit somewhere. You start off with that, and you just experiment. And don't try to do everything precision. I mean, try to do your best at it, but if you mess up, that's fine, because using paints, something's bound to happen. You're going to get some orange peel, you're going to get some scratches on it, and that's something to learn with time. Also, another thing, if you're using paints like this, any propellant paint, you need a mask. You can get these masks, you can get like sets of them at the hardware store, like really cheap, or you can get a more expensive mask. I would say to get a more expensive mask than this, because this one does, it like leaves holes and stuff like right in here. Get one with like a vent to breathe from or something. I'm gonna look into that in the future, but for right now I'm using these disposable masks. And I would say also get some eye protection if you want, because it wouldn't hurt to have eye protection. I felt like I've gotten pain in my eye a couple times, so I just go and wash it out. But I mean, it's really a pain to think you got paint in your eye, so definitely get some eye protection. That's something I'm going to have to get myself too. And as far as that, I think that's about it actually. It's a bit long, but yep, that's it. I'll see you guys later.